the right protein for your hair. Type 4 naturals are mostly high porosity. That means that their hair is quite porous and it allows moisture easily in and out as well. This means that they can quite effectively hydrate, moisturize, deep condition their hair. However, they lose that moisture just as readily. The other thing is that our hair is prone to damage because of the nature of the hair, the makeup of the hair, the way we look after our hair, and also just the effects of the sun on our hair. Now, we also have people that are protein sensitive and they shun away from proteins, but in this video, I'm going to give you some tips on what to look out for when you are selecting a protein for your hair. Now, there are different kinds of proteins, and I'm just going to go straight up and let you know that there are 3 types of proteins. The first one is smaller proteins, and then there's medium-sized proteins, and then there are larger proteins, okay? The tiny little proteins are usually called low molecular, and then there's medium molecular, and then high molecular proteins. So the low molecular proteins penetrate the hair more readily, easily, less prone to cause any hardness or brittleness or stiffness with the hair. The medium ones are exactly that, in the middle. And then there's the high molecular proteins that can cause quite an effect on the hair, okay? They will cause a bit of stiffness, they might cause drying, they might cause a brittle feeling, particularly if used like continuously or repeatedly or too frequently. Now, just be aware that different proteins do different things. Some proteins go into the deeper layers of the hair to fill in the gaps and keep your hair strong and keep the integrity of the hair. Some proteins help you retain moisture a little bit better. Some proteins go ahead to coat the outside of the hair to really, strengthen the hair and prevent it from breakage. Now, it's a fine line between that strengthening effect and now being too strong and too brittle and just breaking. So just be aware that having a product that has got a variety of these kinds of protein is the best is the best way to actually select a protein, okay? So you want it to have all these types of protein. You want it to have smaller protein, medium proteins, and larger proteins. Now, let's look at some of the examples of smaller proteins. Things like amino acids and peptides are not necessarily proteins in and of themselves, but they are building blocks to protein. So they help us create proteins. From biology class, I think you know, is it biology or chemistry? One of the two. Amino acids, end up being a protein pretty much. So these are really good because they can penetrate the hair and really go and fill in the gaps at a deeper level. These proteins are also great for people with sensitive hair because they will not harden or cause any brittle feeling on the hair. Another protein that is quite beneficial and low molecular is proteins that are hydrolyzed. I've got hydrolyzed at the beginning. The word hydrolyzed just means it has been broken down or made smaller so that it penetrates the hair, gets into the deeper layer of the hair to do its job pretty much. So things like hydrolyzed silk protein, hydrolyzed rice protein. These proteins are small. So on their own, they're large, but then once they're hydrolyzed, they can seep through to a deeper level, okay? Just be aware that some proteins, even if they are hydrolyzed, are still a little bit on the larger side, okay? Things like hydrolyzed wheat protein, hydrolyzed starch protein, hydrolyzed soy protein, hydrolyzed quinoa, and hydrolyzed lupine, I think it's called. These are considered, in my opinion, more medium molecular proteins because they're hydrolyzed but not as small as, say, an amino acid. However, they are smaller than high molecular proteins. What are examples of high molecular proteins? These will be things like keratin. Our hair is made out of keratin. It's a very large protein just on its own. A larger protein is also collagen just on its own. So not hydrolyzed, just straight up. And a good example of a product that has got one like this is your Afro-G. So if you find products that have got just straight up collagen or straight up keratin, and if it's at the top of the list, of the ingredient list, then you know that this will really make your hair feel strong. Now this takes me to my next point, which is that when you're selecting products, if you want the product to really strengthen your hair, it's like what I call a true protein. You want the proteins to be in the top 5 or 7 of the ingredient list. If not, they can be in the midsection, or some, not all, but they should be in the middle section. However, you have at least 2 proteins in there. These are what I consider true proteins, and can be used at least monthly or every 6 weeks. If you only have 1 protein in a product, or if the product is at the bottom of the list, I would consider that a more maintenance type protein product or treatment. Now, people with high porosity, which is mainly most type 4 naturals, will benefit from pretty much all the proteins, okay? These are the ones that need the smaller ones, the medium ones, the larger ones. You will do well generally with all of these proteins. Of course, it's a trial and error as to which proteins should be in higher amounts and which ones should not, which products works better with the other products, and how often you use them. However, people with high porosity will find benefit from using all of these proteins. People with low porosity hair will benefit from just smaller proteins, because their hair, first of all, the cuticle is quite well closed, okay? The hair is quite, it's holding up itself quite well. And low porosity hair has got a tendency to, have build up, simply because unless you use heat, the products can sit on the top of the hair and just build up. So if you use the larger products for low porosity hair, you can quickly start to experience buildup and experience the brittleness and breakage that comes with the larger proteins like the keratin and the collagen. So just be aware that if you have low porosity hair, maybe stick to smaller proteins. Same thing with people with sensitive protein sensitivity, smaller proteins, amino acids, peptides, what have you. For my DIYers, so DIY products usually have large proteins, okay? Proteins that will not be able to penetrate the hair very well and can leave the hair quite hard and brittle. They are beneficial, but just be aware that this can be an effect of using DIY products. So things like eggs, mayonnaise, henna, avocado, Greek yogurt, these things can really build up and cause the hair to feel more stiff than usual. So just be aware when you're using your DIYs to use them with caution, so they, you don't use them too much or overuse them and cause protein buildup. Now, anyone can have protein buildup. The key here is to use them at the right time. So every week is too much for protein use. Every 2 weeks if it's a maintenance. However, if it's a true protein, definitely just monthly or every 6 weeks at a minimum will be just fine. And be aware that not all your products contain protein. That's another way to avoid buildup. Don't just have protein in a shampoo, in a deep conditioner, in your leave-in and in your styler. Just don't have protein all over the place. Pick a few products that have protein and stick with those. It's good to have a protein moisture balance, so you want other products to just be moisture focused and others to have a little bit more strengthening properties with the protein. Another way is to just have 2-in-1 products that do both at the same time, and that way you don't have too many products. You don't have to buy too many products, and you can just cut down on the time doing protein treatments and then a deep conditioner, etc. Guys, I've done videos about products that are great for sensitive, protein sensitive hair. I've done a video on true proteins, products that have got true proteins in them. Go check those videos out. I think they'll be helpful for you guys. Until next time, it's Coily Diaries. Bye.